Niyodogawa-cho in Kochi in Shikoku Island, Japan. Thanks for joining, Ken.
Oh, thanks for having us. It's a nice opportunity for us to share what we've got going on here, and real excited to tell you guys all about it.
Yeah, very exciting. And let's talk a little bit about your backstory. You guys were living in California, you visited Japan a few times, and then you suddenly decided to go to this beautiful area of Niyodogawa and start a business. Tell us about it.
Actually, that needs to be clarified a bit. So we're originally from, or I'm originally from Los Angeles area, and my wife's from Tokyo. I
Okay.
grew up in LA and, did the whole school thing. And but my first experience was after I graduated, and I did the JET program, so I taught English. And I went to Shimane Prefecture, um, which is on the Sea of Japan side, very rural, and probably went to the most rural spot in Shimane, which is the Oki Islands, which is well into the Sea of Japan. And this is about 30 years ago now. So, very beginnings of Japan getting used to foreigners in those kind of areas. And I look like them. My ancestry is Japanese, but I'm fourth generation Japanese American. So it was quite an experience. I had a tough time at first, but came to love Japan, especially because of the such nice people over there, and the food, the nature, everything about Japan. I found that I loved, and it was. I went after 2 years there. I came back to Los Angeles, and I was a teacher, and a high school chemistry teacher in public school, and so I would spend my summers often in Japan, mostly going back to Shimane Prefecture. But I got involved with some. I've always been involved with sports, or at least historically, not so much anymore. And I got involved in a basketball youth uh, exchange program, in which we take American youths to Japan through basketball exchange, and we took families, and our groups were as large as over 100 people, and we would go from to different cities, different areas. One of which was Oki Islands in Japan, but another one was in Kochi, and I found that Kochi was really rural, which I really liked, and had great food, had a great drinking culture too, which I really liked, and it was just a lot of fun. And so after that, that was more than 20 years ago, probably closer to 25 years ago that we did that exchange. And so I would spend a lot of my summers going to Kochi, and and then I eventually met my wife, and we got married and settled also in Los Angeles. And we would travel, to Kochi, also to Shimane, of course, and throughout Japan. And we would do this often, like, we always had a summer break, so we would take a trip to Japan and try different places. But usually, head through the Oki Islands and then also through Kochi, which are very far away from each other, but always worth the trip. And so how did we get here, right? So how we got here was, and we had been in Niyodogawa-cho before. We'd actually, there's a lot of campgrounds here, and we had camped, and we knew some folks. And about 4 years ago, we were traveling, and I had brought some of my teacher friends, and my teacher friends would be like, there's so many empty buildings here. How is it possible that these little towns can survive economically? How are they making it? And we have this discussion uh, over dinner with some of my friends in it actually started in Oki, and my my Oki friends would say, if you want, you can have one of those buildings. And we were drinking and having a jolly time, and we said, and I was a home brewer. Also, I should mention that I was a home brewer from 2005, and and I'd always been making beer, and a lot of people knew that. And so I just jumped in. I said, if I could have a building, I would make a brewery. And we all laughed about it and joked about it. And we thought that was it. But we rounded that trip out on the Kochi side, and the same discussion came up for dinner. And my Kochi friend said, "Wait, don't go to Oki. You should come to Kochi." And we're like, "All right," because everything was a joke anyway. And we just played around with it, and we said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'll quit my job, and I'll come. We'll come live in Kochi, and I'll start a brewery." So we get back to LA, and life's back to normal, and I'm teaching, and I get a phone call, and it's from my friend in Kochi, and he says, "I found you a place." And I was absolutely confused because what's this guy? What is he? What are you talking about? He says, "Remember, you're going to quit your job and you're going to move to Kochi." And I said, "Well, we were joking." And he says, "No, but I got a good place for you." And I said, "Well, okay. Well, where?" And he says, "Niyodogawa-cho. Water's great there. And I think I found you a building." And I was taken aback, and I was like, "Okay, this is interesting." And we make uh, trips to Japan pretty often anyway. So I said, "I'll tell you what. Next break I get, we'll fly out there. We'll check it out." And this story is so long, so I'm gonna just fast forward now a bit. Okay, so yes, we checked it out, and yes, we went back, and we thought, "Wow, that's gonna be nice." And but we can't do this. I had put 20 plus years into teaching in the public school system in Los Angeles, and I only had about 5 years left to retire. And all these pieces, right? I love teaching, um, and we had a home in LA. It was just too much. So we told my friend, we said, "This is not going to happen. Really appreciate you sticking your neck out for us and all that, but we can't do this." But little by little, things kept happening. Like, and again, I'm just gonna fast forward because they're all small, but they all added up to, like, well, you know what? Ultimately, you only live once, and so part of that has to do with funerals. I had been going to too many funerals also, and it made me realize, why wait when you got the chance now? And my wife was in. If if I wanted to do it, she was in. And without her support, we wouldn't have been able to do it. But we decided to go for it, and we spent over a year preparing. Because we had to sell the whole transition was pretty tough. But we did it. We moved out here in 2019, and we spent about a year and a half preparing. Um, and then finally, we opened in November of last year. So here we are.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Sorry, that
awesome.
took a little
No,
long, but
no,
yeah.
that's a great story. And I think it's so interesting and important for the listeners to hear that this is possible, right? You can come from America, you can settle in Japan, you can start up a business. And I bet I've seen that you were in some local newspapers as well. They're welcoming people to move out to the rural areas, especially to start businesses and start bringing in people and offering a service like you're doing. It's awesome. Great job. I'm glad you're there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks. Thanks. I think we have sort of a unique case because of the history of coming out here, and over 20 years of a variety of friends who were supportive. We wouldn't have been able to do it without them, obviously. So, but it is true that our town and our local government entities are very supportive of outsiders coming in, and even recently we have these little towns have a program called Chiki, Okochi, Kyodo, and they're meant for outsiders to come into little towns, and they get grant money from the national government to give them a salary to try to pursue some kind of business opportunity or some way to help the community economically and socially and stay in this town. Well, when we moved here, the Chiki Okoshi Kyoryokutai program was not open to foreigners because we asked. We're like, wow, there's a program that allows outsiders to come in. And we asked, and they said, well, foreigners don't qualify. But since we've been here, um, uh, um, well, actually, he's a friend of mine, and that's an interesting story too. But he had visited, and we went to college together. He's American, Japanese American like me, living in Tokyo. And when he visited with his wife and kid, they were like, "Wow, this is a great place." And I joked with him. I said, "You ought to move out here." And he's like, "Well, what kind of opportunities are there?" And so Chiki Okochi Kyoryokutai came up, and I told him, "Yeah, I don't think our town's going to let you get into that program," because they told me no. But when he inquired, they said, "Sure, we'll accept foreigners," and he lives here now. He got in about 2 months ago, and or 3 months ago now.
Uh-oh, we've lost you. Can you hear me? Ken, as Ken comes back, let's do a little introduction of his social media until he comes back. He said before we started that they're having a bit of a storm right now, so this might be part of the problem. On Instagram, Facebook, and on their website, you can find out more information about them. Looks like I'm at my upload limit for pictures right now. Hold on one second. So Mukai Craft Brewery.com. Let me share my screen so I can show it to you. It's a nice website. So Mukai Craft Brewing, you can see his wife there, Masako, and they run the business together. That's their tap room. Nice wooden tap room. And they have so many different spout. Oh, I don't know if you can see that yet. Sorry, I haven't chosen it yet. Here we go. Can you see it? I hope Ken can rejoin us soon. So this is their tap room. You can see nice wooden new building that they created. That's his wife behind the counter in the tap room, Masako. And in that last picture, you can see Ken inside the brewery. That's where he's joining us from today. And they have this new building, the Blue Brew. And on the website, you can see the area there. On the website, you can also see about the local area, local accommodation. They have a place to stay just opposite the river from where their craft brewery is. And this is also something that people worry about if they drive up into the mountains and have a tasting set of beer. You don't want to be driving back out, right? So this is the area guide. Let me show you. So in a previous talk, I think 2 weeks ago, I talked to Zoe on July 1st from Nyodo Adventures, and they are not far away from where Ken and Machiko are with Mukai Brewery. So you can see here, let me take me off so you can see more. They have a sky park where you can do paragliding, not too far away. They have their brewery, they have temples and shrines. Niyodo Adventure, Zoe's business, is at the bottom. And he said that they often see Zoe and her husband, who run that business, around town because it's such a small town and there's just one road in and out. So very easy to see other people. There was also information on his website I'd like to ask him about. Ken, are you
Hey,
back?
it looks
Hey.
like I went outside because we
Uh-huh.
have another building across the river from us that sometimes I can steal their Wi-Fi, and it looks like it's working. So I'm outside now of our
Okay.
building, but yeah.
I can't see you. I can maybe
Oh,
see,
hang
yeah,
on.
maybe turn the camera around. I can see like a reflection. Looks like it's raining.
Wait, I'm right in front of the camera. You should be able to
Are
see me.
you?
Hold on.
No. Yeah, I'm seeing like a picture of the window or the sky, the roof, maybe.
Is there? Do I need to? Would it be better if I exit and come back?
Yeah, maybe go out and come back in.
Maybe. Yeah, I'll try.
Okay, technical difficulties. Always so much fun, right? So when Ken comes back, I want to hear about his brewing process and the different kinds of craft brew that he's making. And he is using some local ingredients in his craft brew. He is also doing a very interesting process to treat and filter the water before it goes into the river as wastewater. So we want to talk about that. Ken was a chemistry teacher.
Hi,
There you
where
are. I can
see
see you
me
now.
now?
Yay.
Okay.
I can see you now.
Konnichiwa.
Yeah.
Konnichiwa. I'm
So
outside, so
I'm
uh,
great.
yeah.
Great. So can you
But it looks like
introduce, is the rain better?
yeah. Hang on. So sorry.
Okay.
Oh no, we're good. We're good. Yeah, we're good. Okay.
Okay.
Well, what did
Okay.
you say? I'm sorry.
So, Ken, I want you to introduce your beer and your brewing process and tell us about some of the varieties available. And when are you going to start selling
Okay,
online? I
so
think everybody wants to know.
okay, so our beers are let's see, we have a number series of beers. Numbers is names, and for those we decide to use local ingredients as additional flavors. So 439 is a an IPA made with green tea, and the green tea is picked locally, just locally around here. We might lose you again because of the thunderstorms, but um, and uh, and so that's the green tea IPA. We just put a hint of the green tea just so that you can get a a flavor of it and maybe a little scent of it. So it's not really strong in the green tea, but you'll definitely next one IPA style. Okay, so the next called and that's we use Satsumaimo for that, and it's a not right now. Right now, well, actually, it is open. It is open. Yeah. Sometimes, sorry, I'm out. Sometimes we get customers even when we're closed. So it looks like we have customers. So, um,
Okay.
so
Are you
17
okay? Go ahead.
is a Satsuma. No, I'm good. My wife is gonna take care of it. So um, yeah, so it's Satsumaimo, and we use a lot of Satsumaimo so that because one of the things we noticed is that the flavor. So we try to put in enough so that you get a little bit of maybe a flavor or a scent of it by the time we're done. And that's a 5.5% stout. Um, and our last of the number series is 2410. And that one is we put sansho and uh, and ginger from this town, and we also add coriander seeds and bitter orange peel to sort of round out the flavor profile. It's pretty spicy. It's a Belgian white style, and it's 5% alcohol. Um, all of those secondary ingredients that I mentioned are pretty local. Almost all of them are like literally right around here. Um, some of it we pick on our own, like the Sansho. There was a guy who was doing a Sansho business, but unfortunately passed away, and then we got permission to just pick his Sansho. Um, and the Satsumaimo, the tea we buy literally right here from local folks, and the ginger also. Uh, the And then we have two other beers that are regulars. One's called Santa Monica, um, and the it's called Santa Monica because that's sort of like the recipe that I brewed most often back home. And we called it Santa Monica because um, I think that has a better ring to it compared to Mar Vista, which is where we actually lived. Is Mar Vista, but I think Santa Monica is sort of, and we're right next to Santa Monica, so we gave it that name. And it's a pale ale. Uh, it's about 6% alcohol, and very easy to drink. Goes with pretty much anything that you want to eat. Uh, and then we have Machu Picchu, which is a New England IPA. It's it's hazy, it's light, it's full of hops. It's explosively full of hops, um, and yeah, we called it Machu Picchu. Oh, so I should give you a little more detail on the name. So the Machu Picchu, we call it that because one of when I first came to Niyodogawa-cho, um, there's you might be well. Actually, it's a little cloudy now, so I can't really give you a sense of it. But um, these mountains are extremely steep, and it's amazing always to me, still to this day, that people built homes way up in these upper areas. And I had visited Machu Picchu a long time ago, uh, and that's what it just reminded me of. I was like, wow, this place is like Machu Picchu, except here people still live up there. um, and then to go back to the number series, the 2410 in Japanese would be Ni Yong Do, right? And so it's Nyodo, um, which is the beginning part of the name of our town. And
Mm-hmm.
439 is the major highway that runs through this area, and it's windy, it's mountainous,
Major highway.
and
Is that a quotation
17.
mark?
That,
Major highway.
yeah,
Major highway. Yeah.
four
Quite a mountainous road,
four
I
three
imagine.
nine is a yeah. it is a major highway though. Yeah, it's it's two lanes, one each way. Um, but 17 is the tricky one, um, and our population was about 5,000. I can't remember the exact number. It's about 5,000 today. It was like 5,300 when I first started investigating this area. Um, and that's how quickly our population is declining. But anyway, I divided that by the area. If you look at Niyodogawa-cho on the map, it's quite spacious. Japan went through that time of gappei, where all these communities had to like come together and form one bigger city or community or town. And our town did that with three areas, and now we're one big like area called Niyodogawa-cho. But I decided to take the population and divide by the area, and the number came out to 17. And just as a perspective, if you do this for like somewhere like Tokyo, it would be like 10,000. All right, so so that always struck me. I was like, wow, we only have 17 people per square kilometer. That's how many. That's how low it is out here. The hope was that we would be able to inspire people to move out here to try to get that to about 18 or even 19. But the reality is, right now we're probably, I haven't done the math recently, but I think it's about 15 because we do have a lot of funerals in this area. Uh, we're full of old people, um, and a lot of interesting young people too. So so I'm hoping anybody listening out there, if you're interested in a great town, and you gotta love nature, uh, but this is a great place.
That's
So
great to
those are our
hear.
regular beers,
Yeah.
and then
And
on
for
top of
your,
this, we have a lot of experimentals. Yeah,
can I just look at
go
your
ahead. Sorry.
logo? Your logo, so coming from a chemistry
Oh,
background, as
yeah.
someone who's passionate about chemistry, is it an easy transition to start brewing commercially because you were a home brewer? How's the transition been? No problem?
Uh, yeah, the transition was, it was tough, but the community. So we had over a year before we moved out to Japan first. So luckily, as a home brewer, I had my homebrew club community uh, was able to help me introduce me to some professional breweries in the Los Angeles area, and so I got some training over there. And then moving out here, the homebrew or the brewing community was also quite supportive, and so I wrote to many of them, and all of them, or almost all of them, wrote back and invited me in, and we visited, discussed, um, for some of the places we actually brewed together, and you know, just learned little tricks of the trade together, and without them, it would have been much more difficult. But because of them, our transition wasn't as hard. So.
That's great to hear. Did you collaborate or connect at all with Rise and Win? They're just over the hill from you in Tokushima, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yusuke. So the guys in Tokushima, Rise and Wind is one of them. Second Story is another one, and Kamiyama Beer is another one. Those guys especially, and others too, but those especially were quite helpful. And so I spent some time actually, uh, I guess you could say, mirroring what they're doing, and just to see how uh, the practice of beer making looks out here in Japan. Um, and so, yeah, Yusuke over at Rise and Win has been, one of the real big supporters, and he's been out here for our opening, but also real interesting. And something that I still, I should have done some more research before talking to you, but you're in the sustainability, which is great. And so a little side story on Yusuke, he brought his shacho out here. Um, and which the reason for that is they were expanding, and they have already expanded. They have a second brewery in another part of their town, and in order to accommodate all the waste that is produced by our, the brewing process, I told them about what I'm doing, which is sort of um, I built my own wastewater system.
I want to
And
hear about it. Tell us about that. That's
so
awesome.
they wanted to see it. Yeah, so I would take you back there, but I'm afraid I would lose the internet because I need to be closer to this building. The wastewater system's over there. So I'll just describe. You can see a photo of it on the website.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're
I've
looking at
got
it
a
right
photo
now.
up.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
So I want to give you the background on this. So we when we started discussing the building of our brewery, um, and we did this in cooperation with the town and the prefecture, and they subsidized the entire building for us, which is another sort of interesting long story. But so if you want to, we could do that later. But because I was involved with the prefecture and the town, we had to do everything by with their permission. Um, and when it came to the wastewater, they were telling us we would have to install a wastewater system, a professional wastewater system. And so, let's get a Mitsumori, which is like an estimate. And it turned out to be 1,500 man. And in dollars, that's about $150,000. And that wasn't in our budget. And we had over a year to prepare. And I said to the guys, look, uh, I'm going to build my own system. I know a little bit about chemistry and biology and and I know how important it is to take care of the environment. We got a beautiful river out here. We're not going to. Give me a year. We'll get this done. And I said that, but I was really nervous because I was like, uh, I just put a little bit of pressure on myself, but let's see what we could do. So began the research of like, okay, well, what's out there, and did a lot of investigating, and realized ultimately I had to sort of experiment on my own. And we did like, first of all, I needed waste. So I went to Pat over at Second Story in Tokushima. I said, Pat, could I have some of your wastewater? And he said, why would you want my wastewater? I told him this, and he goes, okay, you could, yeah, all the waste that you want. Luckily, he stores his wastewater, and he has a vacuum truck come suck it out. That's why I was able to get his. Otherwise, it would be sort of difficult, right? But that's the system that he was doing. So I brought some of his wastewater back, about 20 liters, and I started doing all sorts of things. The basic things, like I put an aquarium blower in there, and then testing. And I needed to test for how it looks, how it smells, uh, but also, most importantly, BOD, biological oxygen demand, which gives you an indication of when you throw it back into the river, how how likely is it that algal and other growth will develop from this waste. And our target was to try to get this to below 20. It's just a number, so let me just say that that's our target. And so I got together my kit, and I actually measured something called COD, chemical oxygen demand, which is almost the same. It's like BOD. Uh, and so I started doing my testing just to, the first thing is how does it smell? How does it look? But then I needed to test for the COD. And I tried the water plants that are in the river, and they work really well, except they die in the winter. And I was like, we can't do that. We need a system that I could use all the time. Uh, I contacted some huge companies, and some of them responded with like suggestions, and some of them, of course, said, "Well, you should buy our stuff," and gave me like a $150,000 estimate. And I said, "Thank you, no, I can't do that." Ultimately, I came up with ozone and oxygen and air, and the combination of the biological with the air and the chemical with the ozone, and using them in. So our system, if you see, there's 5 tanks there, uh, and I found that if you start with ozone, it sort of breaks the stuff down enough. So then tank number 2 is air, and tank number 2. So the stuff being broken down, the bacteria go nuts. They love it. They start eating it up. And then tank number 3 is I give it some air again. And in this process, I got to know some professors at Kochi Kosen University. And they agreed to lend me a micro bubbler or a nano bubbler, which gives you extremely tiny bubbles, which is really good for bacterial growth. So then it grows even more, and it processes the effluent even more. Now it's left with this. When we get to tank number 4, now that we've reduced the COD quite a bit, we got to clean it up so it looks clean and it smells clean. And so the last 2 tanks are ozone again, and it's unfortunate. I could try, but it's starting. It's not looking good right now. But I wish I could show you how clear that water gets. So if you
That's
want, I
great.
can do it, but I might lose you.
I think it's okay because we
So
have the photos. Yeah, we'll take your word for it. But
yeah,
yeah, this is awesome to
okay,
be really filtering out the water to make sure it's pure when it goes back in the pure water in the river. And I saw that you said this is not necessary in terms of compliance, right? Like you're doing way above
oh,
compliance for this. This
oh
is
yeah.
awesome.
Another thing we found out was, and just asking and asking and asking until we finally got to the prefectural environmental office. And he was like the authority. And we found out we don't actually have to clean anything. We could literally dump our effluent directly into the river. But obviously, we don't do that, and we hope nobody else does that. You know, we have such a beautiful river, so can't, don't
No,
want don't want to. Yeah,
you don't want to do that. That's not good for your brand. That's not good for the community. That's not good for anybody. That's
yeah,
crazy that they don't have regulations about it. And it's so good that you are figuring out a
yeah,
way to make the water clean before you put it back because you know how valuable clean water is for making your beer. So it's wonderful that you're giving back clean water back to nature. Awesome.
yeah, yeah. I should point out the main reason why there are no regulations for us is because we produce so little waste. Like if we produce, I can't remember the number, but it's something like 50 tons of waste per day or more, then there are regulations. But there's no way we're going to ever reach 50 tons of waste per day. I mean, just reaching 1 ton is, that's a lot.
You would
So,
need a much bigger
uh,
brewery probably.
yeah,
There's
so that's
there's
why
some
there's no
other
regulation.
there's some other things you're doing which is reducing waste. So for example, you allow people to bring their own containers, like refill containers. I know Rise and Win is doing that in Kamikatsu. You also have washi paper. You have a local maker who makes your washi paper bags. Can you talk about those a little bit? That's great ideas.
Yeah. Okay. So we we realized that PET bottles are everywhere. So instead of actually creating our own growler, uh, why don't we just have people just bring their own PET bottles, And we bought an adapter for the top, um, which allows us to it re-inject carbon dioxide so that the beer stays fresher. In fact, if you squeeze the bottle, you could squeeze that little bit of air out until there's no air left, close the cap, and then inject CO2. And now you're pretty much set by filling that with just CO2. So it works out really well in terms of, um, you know, uh, a little bit of the, the sustainability idea, but also beer quality. And then our washi bags are there. We have a company out here that it's there used to be a bunch of them apparently, but there's only one left, and they're real famous because of the way they make their washi and sort of a sustainable way. They grow their own kozo and mitsumata and harvest everything there. And anyway, so we thought maybe we could team up with them, and we have, and so they make some of our bags for us. We have another guy who grows hops for us, and his wife makes bags for us too. But yeah, so the idea is we want to team up with as many people, local people as possible to try to really promote our town. Um, I should point out, because I haven't updated the website enough, but we have a grain waste system that we built with the local community. It's about a 5-minute drive from here, and grain waste after brewing smells horrible. Like within a day, it'll smells like dirty socks, and then it gets even worse right after that. Anyway, it turns into great fertilizer. It's got a lot of nitrogen in it, and but you got to bear out the 1 week or 2 weeks of the bad smell. And we have a farmer who picks it up also, but we figured, the community, there's so many local small farms out here. It might be a good thing for them to be able to just come and pick up our grain waste. So, we talked to the local leaders here, and they like the idea. And so together we built a grain waste system. So after every brew now, we just load up. It's about 200 kilograms per brew. We load up my van here, and then we drop it off over at this grain waste system. Let it sit there for a couple of weeks, and then the locals come and pick it up.
And how do they use it? Do they use it as compost in the gardens or farming, or do they give it to livestock or animals?
Oh no, it's literally it's just for the farming. It's
Farming, yeah.
it I don't yeah, yeah. They always joke. We have a lot of wild boar, shishi. We have wild boar out here, and they always joke. The wild boar are going to break down the wall. It's a very simple system, and they're like, the shishi are going to get in there and eat it all up. But it gets pretty stinky pretty fast. So as far as we can tell, no shishi are going in there to eat any of it. Yeah.
Well, it's such a beautiful area. I'm so glad to hear that you're doing so many things to try to reduce waste and really support the other businesses in the local area. This is all really important and really meaningful, not just for your brand, of course, but supporting everybody. Showing pictures from your website is so beautiful, especially in spring. Maybe we can come visit by spring when travel starts again after inoculations, right? Gorgeous area.
Yeah, it really is a pretty place throughout the seasons. Uh, Winter is pretty too. Really cold though. Um, in fact, we have a couple of waterfalls here. We have a lot of waterfalls, I should point out, with very simple names: Akataki and Shirotaki, and and they're really beautiful in the middle of winter, because when they freeze, it looks like it's exploding. It's like these icicles shooting out. And the hotel across from us, they do tours, again in the coldest part of winter, to go see these waterfalls. And so even the winter is a beautiful time. Um, the changing colors, the Koyo season, is also really a notable time to come out here, um, where the mountains look like they're just, they're on fire. And we have a lot of momiji, which is the maple. Um, and it's always beautiful. I like, actually, I like the summer also, because the green is so intense. And I'm not sure if this is the case, but my eyesight was, before moving out to Japan, was sort of getting a little weaker, I would say. But since being out here and always surrounded by all of this, um, my vision has become sharper. And I don't know if it's because of the green, but the locals say, yeah, it's the green. It's the green's good for your eyes. So,
Well,
so
it looks
anyway,
like
so it's yeah.
yeah, gorgeous. Your brewery is in such a beautiful location. It's inside the forest, it looks like, and you've got hydrangea flowers around that you share on your social media. Did you rebuild completely for this
Yeah.
brewery? Yeah. Is it a new build?
Oh yeah. So it's a new build. This was a parking lot. Actually, I could show you that right here. This was a parking lot, and then the building, which maybe you get a little sense of here, is brand new, and we got subsidized funding for that from the
To build
local
it.
government.
Awesome.
Um, and since then, yeah, to build it, yeah, and since then, um, like I've done a lot of building projects. Like maybe you could see there's picnic
Barbecue?
tables here.
Yeah.
There's a little hot. Yeah. Oh, I'm sitting at the barbecue, by the way. Yeah, I built this barbecue too, um, for customers to use, and right now we're working on a walkway down to the river. We realized the river is like right. Actually, I could walk to the river because that's closer to the building. But there's a there's the hotel,
Okay.
right
So
across the
if
river.
people drink, they don't have to drive. They can just walk over there and stay, right?
Yeah, yeah, they could just stay there, and the river is right here.
Beautiful.
And so we realized there's no walkway, there's no access to the river. I mean, you come close to the river, and so what we're doing is um, we're building a stairway down to get to the river, right
Nice.
from here. Yeah. So, um, so that's we're always working on something, and that's the latest project. So,
And you were talking on the website about activities that people can do in the area. So Niyodo Adventures has kayaking and pack rafting and canyoning. Is it going through the water? But you also mentioned swimming,
oh
fishing,
yeah,
other
yeah.
activities, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
is
we
there a
have
sky, something with parasailing?
yeah. There's a up this hill. There's a place that used to be a ski resort, but it doesn't snow enough anymore. But they use it now for uh, paragliding, and it's just about 15 minutes up this hill from us. And Yeah, so a lot of interesting stuff. Hiking, of course. We do get a lot of fishers here, um, and we have cornhole that we could set up here, which is a bean bag, throw it into a little hole game. We have some darts. We have, we want to make this experience, we want to start with really good beer. But when you come up here, we want you to really enjoy the entire atmosphere of this place. And so, we want to set up as much opportunity for fun through games, through nature, through, whatever. And yeah, so, and then of course, as I mentioned, you could stay right at the hotel across from us.
Yeah,
There's
that's great.
also a campground just, it's, it's also right here. It's about a minute drive. Yeah. So, um,
Yeah. Let's
lots to do, and you
yeah,
could stay
that's
for a
awesome.
while. And as long as there's no electric storms, we should have good internet.
Yeah, that's good. You're having a bit of a
So
bad weather
yeah.
day today, right? Um, so for online sales, I saw you
Well, yeah.
mention that you might be starting online sales. Is that happening anytime soon or still in the distance?
We're I don't want to make any promises about exactly when, because we're expanding our in many shops and mostly restaurants, bars, but a few bottle shops. Um, Certainly throughout Niyodogawa-cho and then neighboring towns and villages. We're also in Kochi City, um, and we're always expanding. Uh, and that's sort of tying us up with enough to do, I should say.
Yeah.
It's we run this with my wife and I, um, and we don't want to overwhelm ourselves with. It's sort of a selfish thing to say that, but
No, no. You have to stay within
um,
your limits, of
when
course.
we're on online, we start our online sales. Our online sales, we want to be absolutely ready to serve our customers in the best possible way. And right now, we're not quite there, uh, because of these other ways that we're already selling our beer. I should also mention we
Yeah.
sell through a program called Furusato Noze, which is, I'm not really exactly sure how it works, but it's something like you make a donation to the town. So everybody gets taxed. Uh, we all get taxed, but there's a way to uh, donate your
Offset.
tax
Yeah.
dollars to
It
our
off
town directly.
it
Yes.
offsets
And
the
then
tax dollars. Yeah.
as a
It's
gift,
a
there it is.
great
Yeah.
it's a great idea. Great
So,
idea. And a
you know,
good way to support local areas like yours. Wonderful.
yeah, yeah.
I'm showing
So,
in
so yeah. So one,
inside your tap room you have so many different taps. What is the reason to have so many different taps? Each one is different beers?
yeah, every one is a different beer, but right now we have, I want to say 9 beers on tap. It's the 5 that I mentioned earlier, and then 4 others, and we can go up to 16. Um, and with summer break just around the corner, we're getting really prepared for that. We have 4 more beers that are going to be added to the lineup, so that'll put us at 13, uh, probably by the end of this next week. Um,
Wow. That's
and
great.
we're always experimenting on new beers. So yeah.
What do you have a most popular? Which one sells the best?
Um, Not really. It's really strange. We would have thought that maybe the IPA or the New England IPA would be the most popular, um, but it's and it is there. it's popular, but it's not, you know. Strangely, the Satsuma stout um, is really popular. Um, some people can notice the Satsuma in there, and then others like the Nyodo, or it's yeah, it's I can't really say one's the most popular.
Oh,
I
that's
thought before
great.
coming here, the
Yeah.
IPA style would be, yeah, but it's
And I love your
uh
labels and your
yeah.
your brand design. You said you were working with Eugene, a local Kochi designer, was it, who helped you with the design of the place?
Yeah, yeah. Eugene's from Susaki City, which is in Kochi Prefecture. But we met him in Los Angeles, actually just before leaving, and we told him about our project, and he says, "I'd like to help." And I thought, "Great, we need help, and this would be perfect." You're showing a photo of us in front of Blue Brew. I should mention that we have a helper who comes 3 days a week, um, and his name is Kai Takaba. He's going to open a brewery in Kochi, in a town called, or village called Hidaka, which is not too far from here, about 30 minutes from here. And he wrote to us and said, "I'd like to be able to intern at your brewery." And he became a Chiki Okoshi Kyoryokutai for Hidaka Village. And so we worked it out with the village and our town. Uh, you know, uh, we always do everything with our town because from the very beginning we've gotten so much support from them, and we continue to get support from them. Anyway, so we had this big meeting. We said, hey, we want to get another Chiki Okoshi Kyoryokutai from a different town. Is that okay? And they said, well, what's this all about? And everything works out, and Kai comes 3 days a week, and he's on his way to opening his brewery by the end of next year. So looking forward to more really good craft beer in Kochi.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I
So,
should also point
yeah,
out there's yeah, go ahead. Oh
go
well,
ahead.
there are others who are planning to open. There are others who are planning to open a brewery in Kochi. Who They reached out to me, and then we're in contact. And so there's one that's going to be hopefully opening in Nangoku City in Kochi, and another one in Hidakamura, also in Kochi, probably right next to where Kai will open his brewery. So uh, we're the third brewery in Kochi Prefecture. Um, but hopefully within a few years, that number will be uh, doubled or even more. So
That'd be great. It's
real
great.
excited about
The
the craft
the
beer.
more
And
the more the merrier. You guys can support each other, and hopefully everybody can start doing your filtration system to
yeah,
purify water in their area as well. Are others interested in that?
Kai is gonna do exactly the same thing. Um, and the others, not sure yet, but they have expressed interest. Um, and I'm happy to share how we do it. It's actually a pretty simple system, except there are fine details that have to be fine tuned. Um, and I'm happy to share that. So
And it
anybody
doesn't
out there who
cost
wants to learn, just
it
reach
doesn't
out and
cost $150,000, does it?
oh, I forgot to tell you the funniest part of that story. It cost me $1,500 to build that. So we ended up spending 1/100th of what it would have cost.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's
It's a
awesome.
pretty economical system, and it works really well. Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining the show today and telling us all the great stuff that you're doing. I hope that you're there for a long time and you can have such a positive effect on the other breweries starting up in the area and bringing people to this rural area where they're having population decline, supporting other small businesses. Everything you're doing sounds great. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Ken.
Thanks. Well, we plan to be here till the end now, so you know where to find, or hopefully you'll know how to find. You just go to our website, and there's a section on there on how to get here. So yeah, hope to uh, show you guys what kind of paradise we have out here, and hopefully some of you would be inspired to come and join us and live out here. It's a wonderful place. So JJ, thanks for hosting, and you know, now that we're connected, hopefully we'll see you here sometime soon, and I'll keep enjoying your broadcast with the interesting people that you are interviewing.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to connect, and definitely I'm going to come and visit you as soon as I get my vaccine. I'm on my way. Stay for a week.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you so much. And
Alrighty.
please say hello to Masako and your other staff. And yeah, hopefully reconnect soon. Thank
Okay.
you, Ken. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks. Okay.
Have a good day. Bye.